Welcome back to the Stormcrow Show. My name is Josh. Brady cannot join us for this episode, so you're stuck with me, but he does send his greetings. Today I will be discussing a theory that I have regarding the Ixalan block, which is the next Magic the Gathering set that's coming out in the fall. I guess technically Our Devastation hasn't come out yet, but the one that comes out this fall is Ixalan, and then I forget the next set after that, but it's still on Ixalan. My theory is as follows, that it is going to be a multicolored set. Now, if you're familiar with some of the evidence from, like, say, the spoilers that were revealed, and I'll get into that in a moment, this isn't a shocking statement to make, and I know you're probably thinking, okay, so what, Josh? It's fine. I mean, it's a multicolored set. Well, here's the thing. I don't think it's going to be just a multicolored set like Khans of Tarkir, Shards of Alara, or Ravnica, where you have these clans or guilds or whatever that are emphasized or connected to one particular grouping of colors. Instead, I think it's going to be much more emphasized on multicolor in general, and there's several reasons for that. First, the spoilers themselves, and by the way, I should mention, Brady and I are not thrilled that those spoilers occurred. I mean, I think they kind of ruined a lot of the fun that happens with Magic, and, it's very disappointing in many ways. However, that said, a lot of groups, a lot of channels have been touching on this. Channel Fireball, I believe, has. MTG Goldfish, I believe, has touched on it. At this point, it needs to be acknowledged. But if the spoilers are real, then in fact there is going to be a treasure mechanic which allows you to get an artifact that you sacrifice and get any color of mana out of. Which is interesting because, of course, that means you're actually getting an artifact that produces any color of mana. And not just colorless, but any color. That's kind of the emphasis here. So it's ramping you, but also giving you access to all colors out of an artifact. Okay. Now, this mechanic is not particularly new. If you've been playing since at least Theros, you'd be familiar with cards like Guild and also, King Makar, which would create a gold token which you could sacrifice and add any mana of add a mana of any color to your mana pool. This mechanic actually was going to be at one point for the Sultai as their mechanic in the Khans block, but one reason why they didn't do that, among other things, but one major reason is that the Sultai would use that mechanic and become basically a 5-color clan, whereas the other 4 clans would still be 3-color. Pardon me. And if that's the case, well, think about it, I mean, that makes sense. If you have access to all this multicolored mana, then it'd be very easy to become a 5-color clan. If that fear, by the way, is still true, then it makes no sense to create this mechanic now if there's going to be clans, like in the traditional sense, like Shards of Alara or the guilds from Ravnica. However, if there's going to be more of an emphasis on just multicolor in general, 5 or 4 color, then all of a sudden this mechanic is not tied to any particular group, but it's just multicolor, which is pretty cool. Now, barring the spoilers themselves, there's a few other pieces of evidence from recent sets that show that maybe we're going to have multicolor. So even if we didn't have the spoilers, there still would be some evidence pointing towards this. The first evidence is God Pharaoh's Faithful. This card is a 1-mana white creature that lets you gain a life whenever you cast a blue, black, or red spell. Okay, fine. It's a white card that is tied to Nicol Bolas, so what? Well, it's odd to me that Wizards would print a white card that's tied to Grixis colors. Like, basically, it's ignoring all the colors but green here in this card. I don't know if Wizards intended that, but it kind of struck me as a bit odd when I first read this, that why would you make a life gain spell in the first place, and why would you tie it to, Bolas like the way you did? Like, black could theoretically have something similar. Maybe not, but at the same time, it was just kind of a weird one-off, I felt. The other factor, and this is probably the best evidence I have so far, is Manalith got reprinted. It's an artifact that For 3 generic, you can cast it, and you can tap to add any mana, or 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. Okay, the last time we saw this card is when the Return to Ravnica block was coming out, back in I think it would have been M13. Which, I mean, that's fascinating to me that they printed this card again. I mean, if you've seen some of the mana rocks that have been printed in the last few sets, they're either high rarity cards, or they're really bad, or both. Like, they're almost unplayable. But here we have a card that is pretty playable, not overpowered in the right circumstances, but it's at common too. So I found that interesting. Why would you print a card at common in a set that's not really emphasizing multicolor that much? But there it is. All right, that's pretty sweet. There's 2 other factors here. First of all, it looks like that Vraska is coming back to the scene, and she's going to be on Ixalan. Now, Vraska was first introduced in Return to Ravnica, and she was black-green. So she is a multicolored planeswalker. That's all we've known her as, is a multicolored planeswalker. Okay, so what? Well, if you think about it, if she's a multicolored planeswalker, then she's going to like multicolored things more. And it would be a little weird, I think, to make her monocolored if she's never been monocolored before. If you've seen the trend on Wizards, well, I guess, I mean, with some exception, I suppose, like Sarkhan, who's always been red, but he went to a mono-red card back in Khans of Tarkir. In general, it's been an emphasis on trying to keep to those color combinations without being too heavily going down, especially if they've introduced a planeswalker as a multicolored planeswalker first. Like, unlike Ajani, who was white, went to red-white, back to white. Now he's mainly white-green, but I digress. The other factor is the defeat cycle. Cards like, say, Gideon's Defeat, which I have in front of me here. You can exile a target white creature that's attacking or blocking. Okay, now here's the thing. It doesn't say mono white. It just says white creature. So if you have a 5-color creature attacking you, that will work on it. Same with Jace's Defeat. It'll counter any blue spell. Well, if it's a 5-color spell, that includes blue, so you can counter it. Barring any other clause like can't be countered or something like that. These types of cards are stronger against multicolored cards as a rule, just because of that language. In fact, you saw that hate cycle come out in Theros, which is the block that came after the Return to Ravnica block, when they reprinted Gainsay and printed other similar cards to that. So, all in all, this suggests a multicolored theme, but like I said, I don't think it's going to be, like I said, like the Khans or guilds. It's going to be more multicolor, like 4 or 5. Like, everyone gets to play multicolor, and you can play any way you want multicolor. That could imply some very powerful things happening, or hopefully it'll be balanced, of course, but I could see some pretty powerful things happening. In either case, I think this is pretty fun. I think it's pretty cool. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a comment below, and of course subscribe if you haven't. And please like the video as well. It helps us out a lot. Let us know if there's anything else you think that's worth noting that may back up or contradict this theory. Feel free to leave a comment below. In either case, my name is Josh, and this has been the Stormcrow Show. Have a wonderful day.